All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today on the show, we have in Silicon Valley with Sotheby's International Realty, Haifa Khoury. Haifa, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, a little bit about Haifa, and then you're going to fill in the blanks before I start asking you more questions. But she is a top real estate agent in Silicon Valley and with Sotheby's International Realty. She's in the top 1.5 or 1% in the country. You also are now partnering with your daughter in the business. Is that
That's
right?
correct. Yes,
And so there's a whole lot to talk about. And you weren't born in this country. So that being said, focusing on the career first, anything that we should highlight, like for example, you were talking about having 39 consecutive listing presentations and you won 38 of them.
that's correct.
Anything else we should know?
I think it's the mindset and it's the not being attached to the outcome.
Oh, I
I used,
like it.
I used to beat myself up if I did not get the listing. And sometimes I would do the listing presentation that before my daughter joined me, and I would leave and I would say, oh, I'm not going to get it. And then when I get it, I would be like dancing in the streets. And then there are times where I don't get it. And I would try to reach out for the seller and say, can you please um, tell me what could have I done to gain your business? And sometimes they
Mhm.
don't share. And I would just like be so frustrated and I would just like beat myself up for like 2, 3 weeks. And then I said, this is insanity. I'm just going to say next. I'm not going to get attached to the outcome. I'm going to go
Mhm.
in and do my best, present my marketing plan, show my value,
Mhm.
and hopefully they will see it and they would want to work with me. And there are times where people will say, we would love to work with you if you want to work with us. And they will sign the listing on the spot.
I love
And
that because it sounds like you didn't change. You already cared enough and you were working hard enough, but you were showing up desperate. And desperate never feels good to anybody.
it wasn't desperate. I think the thing was having an accent, and I have lived here more than I had lived in my own country. I still cannot get rid of the accent. So the perception of people, they perceive me as someone who does not know the real estate law. But then I started changing my listing presentation. Initially, my listing presentation when I was doing it solo was all about me, copies of all the awards, copies of all the letters that I was the top listing agent, copies of all my listings that sold. But then I my when my daughter came, she said, Mom, this is like all you're just tooting your own horn and it has nothing to do about the seller. So we
Mhm.
changed our listing presentation completely. And it's all about the seller. It's all about them. And that's when this is our breakthrough, that it just changed everything.
So there are two things. Well, no, finish what you were saying. Were you going to add something to that?
Yeah, I was gonna I was in the business. I mean, I started in the business November of 1980, and I'll tell you
Well,
a
actually,
couple
I'm going to let you pause right there because I want to talk about you got into business in 80, but before we go there, back to the listing presentation, two quick things because
yes,
I want everybody to stay with the conversation. Two things in that listing presentation that happened were number one, it was realizing not being attached to the outcome. And
yes,
in a way, when you are, it was more about you. And number two, shifting your presentation rather than trying so hard to prove yourself, you shift the focus even of the presentation to the seller. Now, in
yes.
that presentation, some people say there's so much focus on the broker, the agent, what we do. What was the was it a completely new presentation or were there small shifts in that presentation?
Completely new presentation, completely new.
Wow.
We still the thing that we kept are the testimonials from clients, but most of it was all about the seller, all about the process, all about our marketing, explaining how we do it, what we do, and what works and what doesn't work, showing them stats of clicks, of listings, thousands of clicks on certain listings, showing them things, homes in their neighborhood that were on the market with another broker that failed to sell. And then we come in and we sell it in a week. We show them numbers. Numbers don't lie. I mean, when you look at numbers from Zillow and Redfin, that how many people had saved the listing, how many people clicked on it. And we show them what other agents post in MLS. They post like 20 pictures. We post 80 plus pictures.
Mm,
We have drone, we have video, we have 3D tour, we have floor plan visuals. So it's just showing
everything.
our value. And we talk about that before we talk about anything else. This way, when
Wow.
the subject of commission comes up, after we talk about what we do, we say we charge 6%. I mean, here in California, especially in the Bay Area, we have lots of discount brokers. We're
Hmm.
up against top brokers that charge under 4%.
Yeah.
We get, most of the times, we get the listing at 6%.
Wow. Because you're presenting value.
We
People
show the
want
value.
value.
Yes,
If and the funny thing is, if you're competing on price, you're a commodity. And as a real estate agent, it's not about that. Otherwise, Zillow would have won a long time ago.
right, right. And price, I mean, and we tell people, if you're going to choose an agent based on the price they give you, that's the wrong way to do it. I had a client who is a repeat client. I've known them for a long time. I sold the commercial building for them. I sold a rental property. And 3 years ago, 2 years ago, he wanted to sell a property that he thought it was worth $6 million. And he said, Haifa, I am not selling it for less than $6 million. It's worth like 3.5. I said, Greg, I would like to be a size 2, but it's not going to happen. He said, you are crazy. I said, I am crazy, but not as crazy as you are. And guess what? It sold for 3.5.
Oh my God. I love that. I am so like such an anti-scripter, a big listener, like in like communicating. But if there was ever a script, if there was ever a script, that is the script.
We
Like two things you said in there. That's it. Sorry, go ahead. That was awesome.
So he says, okay, you win. And so we listed it at 3.8, and all the offers came in around the 3.5, and we got it at 3.5 for an all cash. And he said, you were right. I said, I told you.
Two scripts. Number one, I want to be a size 2, but it's not going to happen. Like that is a script. That is a
Yes.
script. And number two, when they say you're crazy, yes, I am, but I'm not as crazy as you. I mean, like I'll stop, but I'm gonna have tears because those are the best ever. If you're going to script everybody, that's it. Okay, so let's go to, and then we're going to get back into how you do business. But I want everybody, and I want to learn more about you too, because you didn't, you've got a full life ahead of you before you became a real estate agent in 1980. So where do we start? What's your story, and how should we hear about where you grew up and how you grew up first, or you want to tell us about getting into real estate first, and then we'll go?
No, we can talk about where I grew up. I grew up in a small college town called Berut. It's about 11 kilometers north of Jerusalem. And I went to a private school. Then the school decided to close the 12th grade in 1968. So, and I didn't want to go to a public school. So I went out. It was a private school. There were only 7 kids in our classroom. Well, that's 11th grade. I was the only girl with 6 boys. So it was like me, I would be number 1, or he would be number 1. So Gus, and I told Gus, I said, let's go talk to the dean and see if he will allow us to take the SAT tests and maybe skip the 12th grade. And he said, you're crazy. I said, well, let's try it. We've got nothing to lose. He can always say no. So we went into his office and asked him, and he looked at us like, huh? I said, let just allow us to take it. He says, okay, I'll allow you to take it, but you guys have to score 90% or better. We did, and we scored over 90%. And he was so impressed that he got us scholarships. So we got scholarships. And
Wow.
And I went to the American University in Beirut. I finished my master's in math and psychology. So it kills me when I go on a listing presentation and people just look at my accent and think that, oh, she doesn't know anything. But anyway, then I taught for 1 year. I taught an all-girls high school. I taught math. I hated teaching. Then I met my husband at the time. His mom is American. His dad is Palestinian. He was visiting. We met. We got married, and I came here.
So you taught school in Beirut or
I taught school in Palestine.
in Palestine. So you grew up in Palestine, then you went to school in Beirut, then you go back to Palestine, you're teaching a girls' school, and then that's where you meet your husband.
I met him. He was on vacation. He was living here in the United States. He was in the U.S. Army, and then he was visiting. He was visiting his parents, and I met him there.
Wow.
And then we got married, and I came here, and we got married at the end of '72, and then 1980 I filed for divorce. 3 kids later, three
I
kids
mean,
going
what
through
a full life.
six
Like,
kids, 3 kids all under the age of 6.
so first of all, growing up Palestinian, I'm going to assume, I think pretty safely, that divorce is not something you even consider. First of all, going to America had to be quite an
It
adventure.
was. It was. Yeah,
And
and divorce. I mean, I'm Greek Orthodox, so in our church, it just doesn't happen. I had
yeah,
all priests and all family members calling me, telling me not to get a divorce and all that, and I just said, "Come live with him."
yeah.
Who's living with him? I'm not gonna put up with this. I have a
How
life.
did you know? Because there's a lot of things. I'm assuming, I don't know a lot about how you grew up, but because you went to school, you were very ambitious and very competitive at a young age, but sounding like a typical American, that's not what I would have expected. And not only that, but you come to America and then you do what you're not supposed to do. Like most women would just suffer. Like, where did that come from? Like, how did you know? Yeah.
My parents had a happy life. My father treated my mom like a queen, and this is how I thought marriage would be like.
Yeah.
But then when my husband would come home drunk all the time, and so I just said, this is not a life for me. I do not want my kids to live around someone like that.
And what year was that? Was that when you became an agent, or what year was that?
1980, I filed for divorce in September. No, in July. I went to school. I ran into my agent like 2, 3 days later after I filed for divorce.
Hmm.
And she said, "What are you up to? What's new?" I told her, and she said, "Oh my God, you will be amazing as an agent. Why don't you come with me on broker tour on Tuesday?" I said, "You're on." I went with her on broker tour, went on tour, went to lunch, and I said, "Oh, I love this," because I loved looking at homes. And when we were looking to buy, I always went to open houses and I always, looked at all the different architecture. So I went and signed up for school and I took classes in Burlingame and in Menlo Park so I can finish fast. I finished in 6 weeks. I took the test and I passed. And 2 weeks after
Well, of course you did, because look at your
I
education.
started house.
Wow. So, did they tell you real estate agents aren't normally considered that brilliant when you got into
Yes.
this? Or
And
just
lots of
saying.
people, lots of people said, "Oh, the market, interest rate is 18%. Nobody is buying,
That's
nobody is
right.
selling. Why
Yeah.
did you get into it now? You have 3 kids. It's going to be difficult. Get
Yeah.
somewhere where you can have an income." I said, "No, I like it. I'm not going to have an 8 to 5 job. I don't want to have somebody to be my boss. I want to do
I
it my
love you. Like, how did you where did you come from? Well, obviously we know where you come from, but like where like that but like on the planet, but like this is amazing. So you come in, you're like, just because and it's interesting because it's just because everybody says that's the way to do it, you always want to take the advice of wiser people, but there's a part of you that knew here's what the rules are in place for, but here's in understanding and living by that is also understanding the purpose and the bigger picture
Yes,
for your life.
yes, yeah." I said, "These people don't know me. They don't know my ability. They don't know my drive. They don't know how competitive I am. They don't know how persistent I am. I'll tell you a story about persistence that's going to crack you up.
All right. I can't wait.
You want me to tell you now?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. So it was like I started, like I said, the end of 1980. Um, a year and a half later, um, I was called to do a listing presentation. I did not even have a listing presentation at the time. I mean, there was nobody had a listing presentation at the time. It was like you just
That
go
wasn't a
in,
thing. Yeah.
you just go in and sell yourself, or if somebody, and I think they had seen my name on a sign close to where they lived, and it's so they saw that it's sold, but they knew nothing about me. And when I got there, they had already interviewed 4 agents. And I passed by this house all the time, and it's like it's one of my favorite houses. It's like, oh my God, I just love this house. So when they called me, I was like, I was just jumping for joy. It's like I could not wait to go in and see the house. The husband was just very snobbish to me. He was like sitting like this, like, I don't want to listen to you, basically.
Mm.
And it was like I felt uncomfortable. And and I know that he was like, he even asked toward the end, he said, oh, where did you go to college? He probably thought that I was just a high school dropout or something.
Well, yeah, the assumptions between being an agent and having the accent, it's like, what do you really know? You're not even from here because they don't understand
Yeah,
what's beneath
right.
the surface.
Yeah. So the wife was very pleasant, but he was very snobbish. And it was like just a week before Thanksgiving. And at the end, they said, we had interviewed, we've done with our interviews, you're the fifth person, and we will get back to you after Thanksgiving. We have family coming over the day before Thanksgiving from out of state, and we will get back to you after that. And I left there and I said, "Hmm, I'm not going to get it. For sure, I'm not going to get it." But then, like, my inner self kept saying, who are the other agents they interviewed? They're not better than I am. I am young and I have the drive and I can get them all the answers and I can hold it open every weekend, whatever. So I go to an Italian deli and I know the butcher. I said, I want you to give me your best salami stick. I bought the largest, the best quality salami stick. He wrapped it in white paper. I bought sourdough bread. I bought cheeses, put a basket, a bottle of wine, olives, whatever. And I wrote on the salami stick, this is no baloney. I really would love to work with you on marketing your home.
Oh my God, I love that. And
The
that's
day,
brilliant marketing.
the day after Thanksgiving, the wife called and she said, my husband had quite a kick out of it. And he told me to call you. You got it. We want to list with you.
Wow. And that, like, that story is so powerful in so many ways because it's creative marketing, clever. Don't forget to laugh at yourself. And
Yes.
sometimes there's a benefit to people not seeing you coming because that husband probably underestimated you. And it
Oh,
kind of set, sometimes when people set the bar low for you, it's not so bad because it gives you the opportunity to surprise them,
to
to
prove
get
them
that
wrong.
wow factor.
That's
Yeah.
what I keep saying. I'm going to prove them wrong. And I did
Yeah.
such a good job in a bad market that I sold it to one of my clients with cash. And I've received, like, over the years, we've become good friends. Over the years, I must have received like 11, 12 referrals from them.
Wow.
And
From
he
those
said,
sellers. Yeah.
yeah, from these sellers.
But
I
what a
sold that
great story.
house. Yeah. But I felt like, did not, I felt defeated for like a little bit. And then I said, I'm going to gain their business. I'm going to think of something. They have family coming in for Thanksgiving. So I dropped it off at their door just before Thanksgiving at 5 o'clock in the evening, Thanksgiving Eve. And because they have company coming. And it's
I
like, I bought
love that.
a bunch of stuff.
Well, so being somebody who was new in the 1980s, when interest rates were at like 18 and 20%,
Hmm.
and now we're at, what is it? I'm looking to the right to check the date, but it's like, not like I don't know what time of year it is,
Yes,
but we're late,
7%.
right?
Yeah.
It's late 2022. And interest rates, what's so funny, I remember when I bought my first house, I'll age myself. I'm not too young. I'm not too old either, but whatever. But it was when interest rates were 7.5%, and that was really low.
Yeah.
And I remember I bought my first house and I called my dad and I'm like, so the interest rates are like 7.4. Should I wait and see if they go lower? No, Jerry, interest rates will never be this low again. Just if it goes down a little, it may go up. It won't matter. You will tell your children and your grandchildren about these interest rates are so low.
Yeah.
Okay, they've been down. My house now has a 2% interest rate, but the
Yeah.
interest rates, if you buy a house now, is around 6. So
Mhm.
a couple of things. It's all about perspective, but as interest rates are going up, it's shifting how people feel about buying in a market where people are where they are high, perceiving them as high, whatever it is. Is there does that matter or what was because like you said, you came into the market, everybody said this is a difficult market, you did it anyway. What was it about you that got ahead of the market?
It's all about the numbers, and numbers come easy to me. I can calculate numbers in my head. So what I did when I started, I would look at the real MLS book. We had books, we did not have computers. I would look at the book and I would pick up the best neighborhoods, the best prices. And I would call the agent and I would introduce myself and I would say, look, I'm new. I'm trying to get my business going. I would love to help sell your listing. Can you share with me if the seller has an assumable loan or if the seller will carry back? And who, I would make a list of all the listings whereby the seller will be willing to carry back or properties that had assumable loans. And I would type up a letter with all of these addresses and I would send it to all the business owners. Like lots of Middle Eastern people here have liquor stores and grocery stores. So, and they all have cash under their mattress. So I would send a letter to them and I would say, look, there are lots of good deals. You do not have to get a loan at 18%. The seller is willing to carry at maybe 5 to 6%. These are great deals. These are great buys. Let me know if you would like to take a look at them. I sold between November 15th when I started till the end of the year, I sold 4 homes. And then the top agent in the office that year sold 7 homes. And I was new. But
Wow.
I did all-inclusive deed of trust, which most people don't understand how that works. I did seller carryback second. I did wraparound mortgages. I did contracts of sale. I just was very creative. And I would go present the offer, and the seller would say, what? And I would just go through
Explain it.
and like repeat, explain it 2, 3 times. And they said, this is brilliant.
You're brilliant because real estate agents don't make the kind of money they make because this is easy. If we didn't have problems and there weren't things to navigate, we wouldn't have the opportunity to make the money we make. I say we. I'm not selling anymore, everybody. I'm officially 100% coach now. But back to the story, it's looking at the situation and seeing that in every problem, there is a huge opportunity. Every obstacle is nothing but an opportunity. And understanding the problem to
Right.
identify, not kid yourself and like think rainbows and butterflies when that's not what they are, and then bring solutions to the table. And also, what I love about that is opening up the door for people to do business together in a way that people are collaborating and people are working together as opposed to getting in their own lane and being so separate, because what makes economies great is when people solve problems together and work together, which is what makes real estate great.
Right. And even now, agents are saying, well, interest rates are so high. Well, here's how you talk to your buyer. Even if you get loan at a 6% interest, you're getting the house at a better price. But assuming your client, and I tell them, assuming your buyer is in a 40% tax bracket, their effective interest rate is 3.6 and not 6%. You have to do the math for them. You have to show them because they don't understand it. That's your job, to show them the math, show them the numbers, show them their payment. Yes, their payment will be higher for a while, but after taxes, their effective interest rate is much lower than 6%. And plus, they're not overbidding by $300,000 and $400,000 over. And then
Exactly. But it's
year
put
or
in
so,
perspective.
and
Yeah.
so they can refinance, marry the house, date the rate.
I love it. Marry the house, date the rate.
Date
Okay,
the rate. Yeah.
this is not going to be the name of this interview, but I want it to be like if you ever script, this is it. But there's so much more to this interview than that. Marry the house, date the rate. I love it. So, going into this, when you saw these things, it was education, it was being good at math, but it was also in the beginning, did you know the solutions or did you sit down and think like what gave you that mindset and that perspective to see so many opportunities of what everybody else says was such a huge problem?
Because I knew that the prices were so low and so affordable, and people did not want to pay the high interest rate. So I said, well, the only people that would be buying it are people with cash or people that can buy it with seller carryback or with
Yeah.
assuming a loan at a lower interest rate. And that's what I did. And the
Well,
second year in the business, I was number two in the office because I just kept, and people would look at me every Monday morning at the meeting when the manager will say, Haifa sold another house. People will look at me. It's like, where is she coming
what
from?
is
Like
she doing? Isn't it
she,
great?
she speaks broken English. How did she do it?
Right? Again, sometimes when they don't see you coming, it's better.
Right, right.
It's frustrating, but it has its advantages. So now as you go through this, because what you really just said was when you hit a market and you hit a situation, there are the big numbers. The big picture says supplies down, demand's high, but you always choose your market. Okay, if supply is like I remember the Great Recession, that was what I went through. And there was high recession, low demand. I mean, high inventory, low demand. And it was like, no, 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 no. Demand's there, or houses wouldn't sell. It's how do you position for where the demand is? How do you create the opportunities? So how do you create your market so that the demand is high and the supply is low? And you literally, that's exactly what you did in that market.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's the 1980s. Now, when you came into business, because we're talking 80s and now we're in the early 20s, over the years of business, give us like, what would you say a biggest aha and the biggest lesson that we can learn from you? There might be a few.
I think if you take care of the client will take care of you. That is the biggest thing. I would be like my second and third year in the business. I would go meet a seller. They will call me. I'll go meet a seller, and they will say, "Oh, we bought the house like 4 years ago." And I said, "Who did you buy it from?" And they will tell me, and it's like, "This agent is still in the business. How come they're not calling her?" I would just think to myself. And they said, "We never heard from the agent after the close of escrow." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And then, so I would just nurture my clients after the close of escrow. My clients are my friends on Facebook. I see somebody having a birthday, I will text them and I will call them and I will deliver a bottle of champagne to their door.
Right. Keep in touch with them and tell them happy birthday. I mean, if there's nothing else to do, do that. And that's so easy.
Just a post, yeah, not just a comment on Facebook.
And do you have, so we haven't even talked about, because on the closings, there are things you can do like closing anniversaries. And I know on your website, you guys have, really creative approaches that you've given your daughter a lot of credit for, but I see where she gets her smarts from. On buyer or information packages, actually, I'm going to pull it up, but you guys have these great information packages that you offer your clients. Yeah, what is your website again?
Ruba and Haifa.com.
There it is. So Ruba is your daughter, but Get My Home Value, you've got to download the 7 things. I mean,
Yes.
I love this. The 7 things Peninsula homeowners, but you're Peninsula, you're in Silicon Valley, but need to know before selling their home. I mean, who doesn't want to know that?
So we get an email when they download it. We get
Hmm.
an email with their contact info and we email them and we tell them this information is basically the tip of the iceberg. If you would like to meet with us and go over our whole marketing strategy, we're happy to do that. And we get a lot of listing from that since we redid our website.
Are you sure you want us? Are you sure you want me to share this? This is good stuff, right? I mean, this is really good stuff, but nobody's you.
I'm happy to share all the time, and I think it's you work from abundance.
Yeah.
It's not competing with other people. I'm just competing with myself, and the more you help people, the more God will bless you. This is how I look at it.
When you say that, I think about a lot of people think I've got to get as much of the pie as I can, but what we forget is we're part of the pie and we're contributing, and we undermine our own contributions and the compound effect of them. And if we focus on what we give, it's amazing how just a little bit that comes back is so much more than, I mean, me personally, than I would have ever dreamed of in my
It's
career.
karma. It's karma.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you talked a lot about, and looking down at some of the notes because we were sharing a little bit before we were recording, client care, going above and beyond, generosity, a little bit of that topic. What is it like to be a client of Haifa Khoury?
Oh my God, they get so spoiled that they keep saying, stop it, you're too much. So we take good care of our clients. On moving day, we deliver food. Sometimes it's sandwiches, pizza, whatever, drinks. We send our cleaning crew to clean the house so they do not have to worry about it when the moving van pulls out. We give them Dom Perignon champagne, chocolates. Their kids graduate. We're there with balloons and cash gifts for their kids. And they're blown away. And we're
I
not
love it.
cheap. Like we give them expensive gifts. Um, like nights at the Ritz Carlton, weekend at the Ritz Carlton, dinner for a family at one of the top restaurants in the area. Sometimes, if they have family visiting, we also deliver something for them. We just take good care of them. They have babies, we're there to deliver gifts. We had a client that she was diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks after they moved into their new home. And my daughter set up a Facebook group whereby, with all her friends and with us, just delivering food to them every day. And people would go.
Um,
She had a 3-year-old, so we had to go and help with the baby and just help her and support her. And it's like she was
yeah.
just blown away with how everyone came together to help her.
What I hear, and it's funny because actually one of our coaching members of Breakthrough Luxury was just on this podcast, and he said, when my clients hire me, they adopt me. And it's like you're basically you become a part of the family.
That's how it is. And I have a client who's very, very wealthy, and I have like over 23 designer bags, and all my jewelry and my Rolex watches are from them.
I
It's
love it.
because we deliver. We exceed their expectations. We go above and beyond. We go the extra mile, but we don't call it extra.
Mm.
Um, so we were there all the time. We ask clients, they say, oh, we're going away for like 1 week. Are there any plants that need to be watered? Do you want us to remove the newspaper from the driveway? Do you want us to check on the house? Are you expecting any packages? So this is like, they say, oh my God, will you do that for us? I say, of course we will do that. And like they tell all their neighbors, they tell their friends, their colleagues. We get referrals. I mean, every week, like last week, we got 2 referrals. The week before, we got 2 referrals. We get
I'm
lots
not
of.
surprised. Yeah. Now, what is it? Because this is just ingrained in the way that you do business. How long did it take you to kind of adopt this way of thinking and being and acting and doing? Because it sounds like it's really just a part of your business now. But to do that, it would take a lot of effort. How long did it take you and how did you figure it out?
I think probably about 10 years. I did not know that you're supposed to give clients a gift
Right.
after the close of escrow. I mean, when I was new, I did not know.
Yeah.
And but then I So an agent wrapping wine bottles said, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh, I have two closings and I'm going to go give these to clients." I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." Then I started doing it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you liked it, or what
Yeah.
happened? You're like, this worked, or because you've gone a lot further than giving a closing gift.
I gave wine to a client that I wasn't aware that he was an AA.
There's always that,
I
right?
did. So he called me and he said, thank you for the wine, but I don't drink. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I said, "Oh my God, chocolate is coming your way."
Yes, exactly. And chocolate always is good for that.
Yeah.
Well, but like as this has evolved, you've kind of I'm imagining, well, there are two things. First of all, this is just part of your systems. And I think what's so powerful is there's so much out there about like scripting, unless it's your scripts, but scripting or calling or pushing. And when the clients that we have, when we serve them, not just with these lovely, thoughtful gifts that serve their lives and contribute to them, but also have the mind and the things that you bring to the table that really solve their problems. Our business, you've just elevated, and it seems eliminated the competition. Or what does competition look like? What has it looked like from the beginning? And what does the competition look like now? And how do you navigate that? We know you're competitive.
Well, initially, I just was like really hang up on my accent. I said, "Oh, they don't want to work with me because I have an accent or because I don't blend in." And then I went to Lou Tice's seminar. I did my CRS and I took the Ninja selling in 1997. And then that just changed the whole thing. I said, "You know what? If they don't like me, if they don't want to work with me, it's their loss." And that's how I look at it. So from that time, when it's like the mind shift,
Yeah.
then I became more confident and more, I shouldn't say aggressive, just like presenting myself for who I am and showing my value.
Well, your mind went from figuring out how to get people to becoming a better version of yourself,
Yes.
which created someone incredibly desirable to work
Yeah.
with.
Right. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
now to keep up with all this gifting, do you have any systems, or do you just, you're like the grandmother, you just like do it? I don't know. Like, how do you keep up with it?
In my garage that has pounds of coffee, Dom Perignon, beef Clicquot, wine, chocolate, gift bags, scratch pads, pens, tape
It's a
measures.
store in there,
It's
right?
just, and every time I go out, I put something in the trunk of my car. I pass by a client's house on tour and I'll just drop something and I'll say, "Just thinking of you. Hope you're doing well. These chocolates may not be as sweet as you, but enjoy them anyway." And I'll leave it by the door. And I'll text them. I said, "Left something by your door. Sorry I missed you."
And that way you basically, not to sound so cynical, but you have in many ways, it's important in business to be incredibly consistent and have the spontaneity to create that
Yes.
wow factor. And you have a system that's very consistent that gives you the ability to create spontaneity every day.
Right, right. And a listing comes on the market on my on a block where my clients live. I'll email them the listing. I do not want them to go to the open house. I do not want them to call and ask what is listed for. I'll email it to them. "Oh, just an FYI, a home just came on the market on your
And
block."
that's the way to, if you're going to call and contact people every day, that's the way to do it. That is
Yes.
so powerful. The
Yeah.
referrals that will generate.
Staying in touch. Yeah. They say, "Oh yeah, we know these people, blah, 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 blah." And but yeah, you did not call, you did not tell them to call me. What was wrong with you?
Oh, but that's where I was going, right? But
Yeah.
here's what's great. Here's what's
Yeah.
great. When it doesn't go well, you're next in line, which sometimes second or third agent is the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now we're going to do the final three questions. So actually, I want to ask one more. We're going to do four. We're going to do a final four. Over the career of your business, what would you say has been the biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Well, the biggest challenge is my writing skills. I used to hire an assistant to do my flyers. Before that, I would just I'm, being a math person, it's like I am just facts. I would do the flyer, I would put the address, the city, number of bedrooms, baths, garage, square footage, lot size, and that's it. And my phone number. And like
Why do
one
they
lady,
need anything else? Right.
one our transaction coordinator in the office, like years and years ago, she says, Hi-Fi, you can do better than this. I said, no, I can't. Can you help me write things? I said, so she started writing my flyers for me because I just like, I'm challenged when it comes to writing skills. My writing skills are bad. You tell me to do, um, give you a cap rate on a multi-unit building just by giving me the numbers, and I will just give it to you without using a calculator. But writing
Yeah.
skills are just like horrible.
Have people around. Focus on what you're good at and have people around to do what's better.
So that's what I did. But then when my daughter joined me, she's actually a very good writer and she's very articulate. She was born and raised here. She's multilingual. She speaks 4 languages.
Wow.
And so it's
So
so that
that's
was
Ruba.
the challenge.
We're gonna have Ruba on the show, but keep going about your daughter doing the writing.
Yeah, so that was the challenge. And then when she joined me, like my friends would call me and they say, "Who did this for you?" I said, "Ruba." They know. They know. Like this one friend of mine, and she keeps telling the story. We
Yeah.
were we were on tour. It was a Friday. We were on broker tour all day long. We went and toured. And then the on Saturday, I was going out of town. I was going to Lake Tahoe. And then as I was getting out of her car, she said, "Well, have fun. It must be good to get out of Dodge." And I said, "I thought this was a Cadillac." She had a Cadillac. I never heard that expression before.
It would be good to get out of a Dodge. For anybody who loves Dodges, sorry, unless it's a truck. Dodge trucks are great.
I never heard that expression before. And then
Really?
she just started
Maybe
laughing. She
that's
could not
awesome.
stop laughing to explain to me what the expression was.
Oh, I love that. That is awesome. All right, now we're gonna the final three. And I
Okay.
might think of some extras in between, but the first of the final three is looking at your career. What would you say has been your greatest resource for your success?
I think persistence, consistency. We do monthly mailers, consistent every month, whether the market is good or bad. Um, Following up, delivering on our promises, exceeding the
Mm.
client expectations. Show up and listen. I mean, lots of people go in, talk to a seller, and it's just you know, all about them. And we go in and we look at the pictures and we start a conversation with the seller. We start like we look at what they have in the home. We let them talk about their family, about their grandkids, about their kids, about their life. People like to talk about their
And
life.
the stuff comes out that you need to know for the listing.
Yes, yeah, and you get a lot out of that. So
Hmm.
we connect with them. We connect with the client. We just let them talk.
Connecting with people. You said persistence, consistency, over delivering, and listening. And then I was thinking, having the consistency and persistence, they give you the ability for spontaneity, but it all comes at the center of that sounds like it's just connecting with people.
Connecting with people. Exactly. I've taken like within the last 6 months, 2 Uber drivers are now buyers. They're looking to buy. I just asked them, how is the family? One Uber buyer took me to the airport like so early in the morning, and I gave him a tip that's the same amount as the ride. And I said, I really appreciate you waking up so early to take me to the airport. And I asked him about his family, about his kids, and he did not stop talking. And he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm in real estate." He says, "Oh, I'm looking to buy a house. Give me your card." So it's just talking to people.
Yeah. Second question. If there is a book that has changed or made the biggest impact on your life or your career or both, what is it that we've just got to read?
Well, I think because I've been doing this for a long time, I think these 7 habits of highly successful people was a game
Mhm.
changer for me. I would just like highlight all the pages and I would write down some of the things and I would just go back and read it. I'm an avid reader. I just finished reading Never Split the Difference, and it took a while to get into it. But then, like, oh my God, like this is negotiations at 101.
Yeah, that book is unbelievable. I read
It's
it
an
8 times.
it's a great book. I mean, I have it next to
Yeah.
my bed, and it's not moving from there.
I read most books like half of the book, or I'm getting better about reading the entire book. And the few I
Yeah,
read twice, I read that book 8 times.
yeah. I mean, you have like Who Moved My Cheese, Adapting with Change.
Oh, yeah.
I just The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, The Magic of Thinking
Wait,
Big,
well, I've not heard The Magic of Thinking.
Magic of Thinking Big.
Oh, The Magic of Thinking Big. Who wrote that one?
I cannot remember. I have to look it up.
Okay, so
Um,
we'll find that. But the one I think is it the Seven Habits? Is that the one?
I
We're going
like
to
that.
share all of them with everybody on your
That
show
was the
notes.
first
But
book that just really I got a lot out of it.
wow.
But I'm sure because I've been in it for a long time, there are lots of books. The Ninja Selling is a great book. Um, so it's there. There's lots of good books out there. The Brief, start
Oh,
with
Brief is good. Yeah.
Brief, start with Why. How to influence friends, how to win friends and influence
The
people.
Simon Sinek, Start with Why, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's Dale Carnegie. You read them
Yes.
all. Now, so I get them in, especially when I was selling through Audibles in between appointments or phone calls. I would literally like do 5 minutes on a book and 5 minutes on a call. Is that how you do it, or how do you fit in all these
No,
books?
I read before I go to bed at night. I have to read.
Wow. If I read before I go to bed, it's like half a paragraph out.
No, sometimes I get into it and I like have to say, okay, one more chapter, and I end up staying up late.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's really good for you. Okay. Last question. If we forget everything in this conversation today and only take one thing from you, what do you hope that is?
I would say there is no right way to do the wrong thing. Always do the right thing by people, no matter who they are, whether they are going to benefit you or not.
Mm,
There's no right way to do the wrong thing.
wow, powerful. Haifa, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been such a fun, enlightening interview. You have so much to offer. Thank you for your generosity with your time and your insights and everything you have to offer.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. If you like this episode, please share it with friends. To find more episodes, search Jere Metcalf Podcast on any platform for podcasts, or go to JereMetcalfPodcast.com. That's JereMetcalf podcast.com.